Welcome to Emotional Intelligence Simplified. This is a weekly podcast focused on demystifying and discussing what emotional intelligence is. Welcome to Emotional Intelligence Simplified, the podcast where we discuss all matters emotional intelligence and help you understand the role and importance of emotional intelligence as a critical life skill. Today, we look at the issues of self-regulation and resilience. And to help us have this conversation, we are joined by two ladies. We have with us Wamboi Mwehaki, who's an operations specialist, a community builder, and a podcaster on the podcast We Are Few. We also have with us Leah Kigondu, who is a project management specialist. She's also a community builder and also part of the podcast We Are Few. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time. So let's start with Wamboi. Let's talk about when you hear those words, self-regulation, what does that mean to you?
That's a very great question. When I hear self-regulation, I think about not having a reactive or not being reactive to a situation that is affecting me, and just having a way to like take a pause, take a breath, and then coming back to address it when I am more calm. That's what comes to me when I think about regulation.
Okay, what about you, Leah?
For me, regulation looks like naming an emotion, something that I'm really learning of late, and then being curious about the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the curiosity leads up into understanding because we say emotions is a signal. So it helps you understand now, okay, so what is my emotion signaling? And then after that, you're able to know what step to take.
Okay, yeah. So it's about us being able to understand ourselves and manage whatever it is we're feeling and deal with it.
Yeah.
So now both of you are in really, high pressure situations, the kind of jobs that both of you are doing.
Yeah.
So why are we laughing?
Because we are from
Because
the
of
pressure.
how accurate.
You just come from the pressure, right?
And we are going back to the pressure.
Yes.
So, you're what we would call high performing professionals.
Thank
you.
Let's start with Wamboi. For you, you're this kind of what kind of situations do you find yourself in?
Very many, but I think one of the most recent kind of situation I have found myself in, operations means, first let me start from there. Operations means that you're looking at whether it's a program or a business, how do you make sure that it's running efficiently, plan for it, make sure all stakeholders are involved, they know everything that's going to come before maybe a project launches or something like that. So high pressure for me looks like deadlines, very tight deadlines. It looks like overlapping projects or overlapping deadlines. So you have something that needs to launch on this day, but even as it launches, you have another maybe program you're running that is coming to a close. So how do you make sure that you are doing analysis and all of these things for the previous one, and then preparing yourself and your team to manage the incoming one? And at the same time, you're not just managing the people who will help you launch this new one. You will also engage with other people like engineering, tech. So how do you bring all of these people together to launch this one? And they are the same people helping you deliver the other one that's coming to a close. So high pressure looks like competing priorities, very many people being involved. They always say if a team is so big that you can't share one pizza, it's a problem.
Wow. I like that one. So you can't share one pizza,
That's
it's a problem.
But now you can't do everything, just your team. You have other stakeholders that help you deliver. So high pressure also looks like managing all of those different people and still being able to deliver a great experience to your customer so that they are able to, go back and bring other people and even come back and go through a similar experience maybe for another product.
Okay. And Leah, for you, what's high pressure?
High pressure. I start telling people about my job and the first thing they say, that's too much. It's too stressful. It's too stressful.
So let's start with the job. What does it entail? Yeah.
So my job entails running end-to-end supply chain for clinical trials. The motto is usually at the end of the line, it's a patient. So when I'm delivering my work is at the end of the day, there's a patient waiting for this drug. Contributing to the larger community of research and development. And so High pressure for me means I'm dealing with multiple teams, to multiple studies. So for us, the projects are the studies themselves, clinical trial studies that are happening. And in each trial, there are multiple countries. And in each country, I'm dealing with multiple teams within those countries.
Yeah.
So
I'm already
you're
stressed.
already confused, right? I try explaining to her, and she's really like, Miss Hawa, it's fine. And in each study, there are a whole lot of requirements needed. From I deal with IP, that is the investigational drug. I deal with equipment. I deal with vendors. And then I'm dealing with a sponsor within the internal team. I'm also having a clinical team. I have an operational team, regulatory team. So all these people, and that's just one study, all these people I need to keep in mind when I'm delivering. I'm also thinking the patient, I'm thinking the sponsor, we're thinking about the budget, we're thinking about regulations, compliance.
All this is your job.
All this is something I need to always have at the back of my mind. So actually in our job, the first 6 months, you're actually told you're not going to be like very effective in your job until probably an year plus into the work. So they know the first 6 months is usually just training on procedures and understanding regulations, understanding each part, because in my work, I'm a functional lead. So I lead the function in all the studies. So I'm a global clinical, global supply team, functional lead. That means within me, I have different other team members also reporting to me, and I report to all the stakeholders.
You
I need
report
to,
on their behalf.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I need to understand how all these processes work.
Wow.
Because I'll make decisions, I'll sign, I'll approve, I'll do all those things. So for me, and then also a lot of fires every day. This study, this thing is not moving. These vendors, and yeah, sometimes can be quite crazy. You need to every day take a breath. Yes, already it's complicated. I know.
Tired.
You know, when we used to live together, we used to take time off during the day to rant to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to help each other cope.
Rebalance.
Yeah.
So now let's look at, I like that already. I'm feeling, well, this is really quite a bit. And then I'm thinking you're relatively quite young. So there's still life happening.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're still finding ourselves, we're still building. So let's look at when it first. So how do you manage? What do you do to remain composed and to make sound decisions? Let's start with Leah this time.
So one, it's understanding that first, that's how my work is. Coming to a place of acceptance, not constantly fighting it. To also allowing myself to hold to feelings at the same time in a way that, for example, when I moved to my new role, there's excitement, but at the same time, I was feeling so overwhelmed because I moved into this role in September.
Okay.
So how do I hold that? Oh my God, I've been promoted to this new role, but at the same time, oh my God, this is so much. And until I had a conversation with someone, it's when it clicked to me that I need to allow myself to be excited and still accept that this can be overwhelming. I'm also a fitness enthusiast. I work out. That keeps me sane. So something that I think will add into this, maybe that would help, is that we work from home.
Okay.
That adds a different component in how you end up
it makes a big
managing
difference,
and regulating. So for me, going to the gym is one, just exercising, feeling good about my body and myself, but also socializing, because that's when I meet people face to face and laugh. And like, I'm not thinking about anything. And I'm always aiming it to be at the start of my day so that it sets the pace of how my day goes.
So you start your day at the gym?
At the gym,
okay.
Yes. And then also just anchoring myself in, like, I like podcasts. I like listening to podcasts. And then just realizing that when you talk with her and talk with my friends, realizing that, kumbe, other people are also going through this. And that's the part of we are figuring it out, is that I'm not just going through this pressure and nini, kumbe even the rest are going
Everyone
through
is
it.
going through
so it
something,
makes it feel a bit manageable. So I think those are some of the things. And sometimes just closing that laptop and breathe, take a walk, then come back to the situation. That has happened several times when you're from a call and you're feeling like
this is too much.
You're about to blow up. You need to just like shut that laptop, take a walk, come back. Yeah. And yeah, it's just that has really, really helped me. Yeah.
And you, one boy?
I think first, I really love and thrive in organizations that drive impact. So I think that's one of the things that really helps.
Yeah.
Because I know there is somebody's life that's going to be changed as a result. And then the fact that the impact is for African talent, young African youth, training and developing them, especially in tech. So that makes me happy. When on the days that I'm stressed, I'm like, somebody is a software engineer because, I put together something. Yeah. Like I played a role in that. So I think that really helps, that there's impact attached to what I am doing. Gym also helps. For me, we actually started our workout journey together. So gym helps. And there's a lot of banter that goes on in the gym that just helps you release. And when I am very stressed, I will lift more weights.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
you unleash it on the weights.
Yeah, it's just like, like it can be very frustrating. So when I'm going through something very challenging at work, the following day, I will not even fight my trainer. I will just be like, okay, let's add the weight or something
even
like
add
that.
10 more.
Yeah, it's okay. I will struggle through it. Journaling as well helps me.
Okay.
I do not journal every day, but when I have very high intense emotions, like there's a transition happening that is very challenging for me as an individual, and like within this time and this period, I am journaling a lot to like release what I am feeling about it, why I'm feeling a certain way,
So you're writing down, I'm feeling like this, and I
Yes,
think it's like, so
yeah.
you're exploring this feeling.
Yeah, I'm feeling like this and this is why. And then, it also helps you identify something about yourself. When you're writing, you're like, I didn't even know I felt this way because of this, to this degree, that you would take time during the day and just write something down. I think that helps me a lot. I think another thing that used to help me was hiking and all of these things. I haven't done a lot of it, but I think there's something really majestic about being able to see creation and appreciating God. You're like, all of this you could put together. It's like a big canvas, a big work of art, and just being validated that I am part of that art and creation for a reason and a purpose. I think it also helps just to like, deal with all of these other things when you go back to your desk and have to do all of these things that you need to do.
Yeah. Maybe just to add in a bit, when it comes to like working out and like hiking, because we're kind of similar, so we also do this kind of things together. There's something about when you're lifting and you're doing hard things that makes your mind release reality, and you're just focused on this one thing and achieving this one thing, that after you do it or like you reach to the summit, makes you feel so good. Like it releases this rush of dopamine that makes you feel so good. So that you remember you have this challenge, you're like, oh,
I can do this.
I summited or I lifted this way. So there's something about it, like, because at that point you're so focused on this one thing, you forget everything else. But then when you're done, you feel so good that kind of gives you the energy to like, atahi,
And it needs presence.
Yes, and it needs presence.
You have to be present to achieve it.
Yes, exactly.
My trainer usually says when you're working out, there's a time you're lifting and then he says you're not connecting
your mind,
you need to look at the weight, connect, so that it even is effective.
Yes.
I did not used to understand it. I was like, see, I'm lifting when he
what else?
The muscle is building. Why do you want my mind there? I'm thinking about something else. But you will need to be there.
Present.
You need to be
deal
present.
with that one thing.
Right.
Yeah, and it helps build resilience. You're like, if I can do this, then that project that's stressing me, there has to be a way around it.
Now, if you look at yourself today and where you are at the beginning, how has emotional intelligence, what's the difference you see, on how you look at things and how you now handle them? Who wants to go first?
I can go. How I used to handle things and the way how I'm handling them right now. Maybe I can start with my family is a very emotional family.
Okay.
If one person cries, everybody is going to cry.
It's a family of girls.
Yeah, it's a family of girls. We are very expressive. When you're angry, you can tell somebody's angry. Sometimes you say things you don't mean and all of this. So it's if from there, let's start from there. And then also, the way I grew up was not very stable, and there was, conflicts and all of these things. So I did not have a very good way of expressing my emotions.
Yeah.
And also, your parent is also a parent for the first time. They're learning, right?
Yeah, they're learning.
So they're also not coming from a point of helping you manage your emotions. So they're figuring it out. You don't know that they're figuring it out. And then you're also trying to figure out. So I think at the beginning, or when I was younger, there was a lot of like I didn't know how to engage people properly. And then there was also a lot of like, you're scared to engage. There was a lot of not being conscious about the emotion that you're feeling, and also not being open enough to diving into that emotion and why you're feeling that emotion. Because some emotions, when you feel them, you feel first guilty, and then you also feel resentment for the other person. So how do I hold space for, like, I feel bad that they did that, but I also don't want to release a reaction that makes them feel invalidated and small. Like, you want to understand them, but you also want them
you're
to
going through
understand
your own
you.
stress.
Yeah. And that felt very, very stressful, very high pressure. And I think I don't know what broke or what enabled me to start that journey of I really want to be able to manage my emotions, and I really want to be able to identify how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and also being able to be curious to even go to the person and ask, why did you do that, and not from why did you hurt me, from just understanding like what was happening with you, and I think it has taken therapy. I've done therapy, which is one of the hardest thing ever. When people
But it makes a difference.
yeah, when they throw around, oh, I go to therapy. Therapy is hard.
It is.
It's very, very hard, and it's very revealing, because the therapist is not going to, they're not giving you tea and telling you, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
They want you to face yourself, and they also want you to face the things that happened to you that led to where you're at, which means you have to look at the people who raised you from, an awareness perspective. You're looking at your mom and you're like, I understand why you did that, but you can still tell her, this hurt me.
Yes.
So I think therapy really helped me. And I think my circle of friends are insane, because when we do therapy, we are doing it together. People are like, you're going to therapy, let's do therapy. You're going outside, let's do go outside. So I think just being emotionally intelligent has taken a lot. I'm still learning. I haven't
it's a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey. But I think a lot of it has come from just me identifying that I need to work on myself. And I also have aspirations. And if I want to be a director, a VP, you don't just get there from getting the job done. You also get there with how you engage with people.
Exactly.
So what is your long-term goal, even career-wise, professionally, career-wise, personally, and you can't get there without people. And so emotional intelligence plays a very big part if you're going to get there as just a well-rounded human and somebody who other people are even happy to be around. Because we have people in those roles and hectic.
But we'll look into that, but let's first hear from you. And what about you, Leah?
So for me, my journey has been, I experienced loss when I was really young. So part of my growing up has been building walls and protecting myself
from pain,
for survival, right? And one of the ways I used to do a lot of that is shutting down from connections, from people. So I started getting interested in like understanding, okay, so this is how I feel. I feel like I can't express myself because I don't feel like I have the safe space to do that. And so I usually tell myself, if I don't know something, let me dive into it. Let me get to learn. Let me get to understand. A book that we always mention in our podcasts is What Happened to You?
Okay.
By Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah. And that book kind of, I feel like, started giving us an opening to understand trauma and understand how we need to name what we are feeling.
Right.
And maybe help us understand our emotions and our reactions towards things. So I think for me, I started just being curious with, this is how I shut down and I become too close to someone or something. So how do I become a better friend? How do I become a better, to my family? How am I able to release that? And then I also started therapy. So therapy has also been very important. Something the therapy said is it's interesting that when we feel very heavy feelings, that's when we run away from therapy than run towards therapy. And it's just because sometimes emotions can feel like you yourself are not able to understand them and they feel so overwhelming. I think that's where regulation comes in, is that they feel like they're the ones riding, they're the ones driving the car. But essentially, regulation is taking back the driver's
wheel.
the wheel.
Yeah.
And so I think it really helped me with that. And then one of my other best writers, I really love her. It's Brené Brown.
Oh yes, she
has
really good
an
books.
amazing book on Atlas of the Heart.
Yeah.
I've gifted this book to people, and it's like 3,500. And the reason why I give people this is because inside that book, it's giving language to emotions. So now you're not just, I'm just overwhelmed. You can be able to know that this is anger and this is sadness.
Yes.
And able to know what this is happiness and this is joy. Because sometimes that's what we lack, is the language towards our feeling. And so when you don't have the language, you're not able to essentially express or able to know how to deal with it. So if this is anger, maybe how you need to deal with anger and sadness is totally different. So for me, I've leaned in and just been curious and listening to people that I admire and who probably have more knowledge than I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys have really taken time to really evolve, and it's admirable.
Yeah, I think also just having friendships.
Good friendships, good friends. Because also the kind of friends you have makes a difference.
Yes.
If you can empathize and help each other grow, it's all the... So we're looking at community here, we're looking at curiosity, the desire for self-discovery.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is one of the self-discovery is self-awareness, which is like the main pillar of emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Is getting to understand me and why I react to things and how I can manage that better.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. What are some of the early warning signs that somebody could be struggling, with emotional regulation, and how do you then cope with it? How do you feel like things are going wrong?
I think when you're extremely reactive, like whatever someone says, you're ready to, talk, you're ready to, or ready to give up.
So either you're very defensive or you're on the attack.
Or in the attack, or shutting down. Shutting down is actually very common, So I think those are some of the ways you can know that the emotions is already taking over. Also, I think also maybe how you end up treating people in a scenario. For example, if a child does something, the first thing is hit them or
yell,
shout,
Or throw something.
That's when you know that kidogo, you need to take a step back and reevaluate.
So when you say shutting down, what do you mean? You stop talking, or what does shutting down look like?
Stop talking. Shut that person out fully. Not engaging.
Okay.
In the workplace can be being nonchalant, like you're told something sour. Okay, like you're not providing feedback. I think that, I think shutting down could look like that.
Yeah. Totally agree.
What about you, Wamboy? What are the signs or things you've seen or experienced?
That shows someone is not
there's a problem. It's a cry out that the self-regulation is not working. Something is off.
I think when somebody doesn't take time to first listen to what you're saying, because I've experienced that, like you're communicating something, but they don't want you to communicate what you need to communicate, and they're already reactive and using certain words or a certain tone. So you already know this person is reacting from a very hyper emotional place. They haven't listened first, they haven't heard what you're saying. So they are going above and beyond to like make sure you keep quiet so that theirs is more
important.
Of something I have seen with leadership, where I know this person is not okay, is where you do not give your people space and a safe space to express how they feel about something without them feeling like they might get in trouble.
Yes.
They might maybe lose their job because of maybe what they've expressed. Maybe they're dissatisfied about something. So I know a leader is not okay, and I would even go out of my way to not be part of such a team if I know the person does not give their people a safe space to say whatever they need to say in order to process maybe something that's happening.
I think another way would be demeaning. Like when you're demeaning someone at a workplace, it's actually usually more about how you're feeling about the
yourself.
situation than that person. So I think, and I think I've personally have experienced that where someone is demeaning me or making me feel less than just because they are feeling a certain way about me and not because of my outcome or what I'm producing. They're just feeling they promised something, but they could not deliver from their end. And so when questioned, is like they start putting you down. Yeah. So I've also experienced that, and from a leadership point, actually. Yeah.
And let's not even get into the conversation of now our gender. And then
No, thank you. No, we have to discuss that because that also comes in. First of all, for you, you're young.
Yes.
You're female.
Yeah.
and then maybe people feel, do you really deserve these positions you're in right now?
Yeah.
So they have opinions or thoughts.
Yeah. And we are also very opinionated.
Yeah.
Right?
Very.
Like you have your opinion and you have your opinion, and that's okay. So that also brings problems.
Yeah. I think for me, in terms of what I've faced is being a young lady at our workplace and being African. I work in a very global company. So I work with a lot of other cultures. So I think there's usually that question in mind, like, are you able to deliver?
Does she really know what she's doing?
Really know what she's doing? So just to say, in my previous job, I encountered the part of being demeaned, being made feel less. And when I was coming into my new role, I was feeling some type of way about it. I was feeling like, do I deserve the role? Yeah. Can I even do this job? First, it's a new whole other industry. I don't even know because I'm from a different industry from what I'm doing now. And it took to have a manager who entrusted me to run things and affirm me to be able to feel like, okay, this is doable.
You got it.
And I got it. And she really and I love that she knew that if she said, if Leah is on this, then I know it's gonna be done. And it's gonna be done well. So that really built my trust. But initially my experience was, you're not good enough. Even if someone else says the same thing and they're told they're good enough for you, you're not good enough. And that really, really messed up my confidence. But it took someone else affirming me and then believing in that. Because someone can keep telling you you're beautiful. But until you believe that you're beautiful,
true,
it will never mean anything to you. And so for me, I took that and ran with that. And so
you owned it.
So right now, if someone thinks about something about me, I'm just like, yeah, there are people who have already told me I'm good and I believe I'm good.
Yeah.
We're good to go. But yeah, this has been some of
I actually had the same experience. I don't know why we need to go through a very bad experience before, getting into workplaces where there is a better experience. But I remember one of my previous managers in a group meeting ever said, if you can't do your job well, we have very many people who don't have a job and your role can be replaced.
Ouch.
Just like that.
Those
so
threats.
It was because there were targets to be met, so I understand why they were saying that. I do not agree, but I understand like they were thinking that would work to incentivize people to actually hit their targets so that it also looks good for her. It was a female. And we'll get into that. But I think that experience for me made me feel very common, very regular, very like I'm just like anybody else. There's nothing special about me, But I then had a very different experience with another female manager who today is one of my mentors and sponsors because her management and leadership style is one of excellence in terms of do the work really well, but also empathetic because she understands there are other things outside of the work environment that affect your outputs.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that really helped to also help me understand if I want, because we did really great jobs. We did a lot of automation and improved a very big experience. And I think that showed me that you can be a leader without bullying,
Putting people down.
putting people down. You can be effective, hit targets, and still be human in how you lead people. So I've had an experience with a female one who was just hectic, and a female one who was
not effective,
who has shaped my career.
Yeah.
I like that. So it also comes into, I'm seeing now here, there's this generation thing. Xers like me were taught not to question.
Yeah.
You do. This is how it's done. That is it.
Yeah.
You're the generation that asks, but why?
For
Is there another way?
Is there impact?
Yeah.
Have you had those clashes? Because I'm listening to you guys and in my head I'm going, where?
Yeah.
It's truly because we were taught you follow this is the system, this is how it's done. If it's supposed to be D, C, B, A, don't tell me to do A, B, C, D. You guys are coming in and even throwing Y and F in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you have those generation challenges or people thinking like they don't understand? Because all of you have said you're very opinionated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does this come from? The ability, so you're able to express and ask questions when everyone else is thinking, now? So how do you manage that? To express your thoughts and your opinions and still do it at the right time? Because that's what emotional intelligence is all about.
Yes.
Even if there's a fight right now, you won't start arguing and saying, don't threaten us, but you'll find another way to bring it out. What are some of the lessons you've learned?
I think one of the, other than just having like a great manager and like great people who, help you get to that point, I think there's usually I don't know if it's because of my connectedness to myself and my gut, and being able to identify something and say, this is not in alignment first with my values. It's not in alignment with the end goal of what we want to achieve. It's scary to be able to like tell your manager or even a stakeholder that I don't agree. I do see where you're coming from and I understand why you are of the opinion that this should be X, Y, and Z. But for me, this is supposed to be X, Y, and Z because of X, Y, Z.
I like
Such
that.
kind of a situation. So it's scary, but I feel like there's nothing as freeing as being able to honor how you feel about something and also being able to just be brave enough to be like, yes, they are in a senior position, it's fine. But you also know your numbers, you have the history, you understand all of the things that are involved before you even communicate what you want to communicate. But I've also seen the other side where somebody is very reactive, very emotional in how they're communicating. And I couldn't state my opinion at that time because they were very, And I do not engage in a conversation where somebody's being
out there.
I prefer to just be like, okay, I understand it's very emotional, but we can come back again and talk about it later.
Yeah.
If I cannot de-escalate it, I am escalating it to someone else to help us have that conversation. Because sometimes you want to be able to go the full way with a stakeholder or a colleague, but sometimes you need help.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not meeting each other at 50-50 and you're doing more of the pulling. So I also understood that it's not my work to also help them regulate. It's not my work to help you manage your emotions.
Yeah.
And I need you to go and deal with it, and then we'll come and talk about it. And if it never comes to a space where we can discuss it, we need to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is the end product that you're creating. So if you need to bring somebody else in the picture to help, then that is just wise to do that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think also, I feel like our professional relationships are not very far from our personal relationships.
Okay.
So I think how you handle your personal relationships can tell you a lot about how you handle your professional relationships, but we tend to really separate them. So if I cannot tell one boy something that she has done and I'm uncomfortable with, and I still trust that we can be friends, it's a high probability that you don't usually talk or say something that is difficult at work because you're feeling like you need to manage that situation in regards to how the other person feels. So I normally don't, when I'm learning these things, I don't want to separate so much because these things are very intertwined. All these things are about building connections, about the relationship you have with the other person. And as just said, Mel Robbins was saying this, and I really like it. Let adults be adults. So let them,
let them, just let
and
them.
then just you're only able to manage what you're in control of, and
That's
that is
true.
yourself and the reaction. So for me, I usually approach situations from a place of wanting to understand and being curious about what is happening. So I want to ask you questions. I want to understand where you're coming from. And also just read the room in regards to your reaction and even how you respond to know whether can I be able to engage with you and tell you something directly, or do I need to be like, okay, can we come back and revisit this at a later time? It requires, so when I'm going to a meeting, I remember I used to have these things called coffee chats. So we would be connected with different colleagues across Africa. And so one of them, the lady told me, she's HR, she was telling me, before you go to a meeting, first see what you want to cover, check in with yourself, and then enter the meeting. And mostly if you know it's a meeting that will require you to be out of your element, like you need to be like have a stance, all those kind of things, be prepared. Don't go into a meeting and you don't even know what you need to achieve or from that meeting. So I think that helps me. And I'm going to a meeting, I first stop and be like, okay, so I have this meeting at this time. What do I need ready? What is the approach I need to take? So when I'm going to that meeting, I'm already clear in my mind. I'm already calm than in maybe the person I'm approaching. So I'm able to at least be in control of my situation at my end.
Yeah.
And then seeing whether are we going to move forward or not. And if not, we escalate it and be comfortable with escalating things when they need to be escalated. And knowing that here, first of all, we are professionals. We need to have that in mind. At the same time as you're holding space for the other person to be a human being. So that
I like that catchphrase that the other person is a human
being.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, that this person is a human being. So it's like they might have something. That's why I go in with curiosity. So something has not been done. I usually like, okay, so I've been asking for this thing for this amount of time. I haven't been given responses. So has there been anything that is a challenge, like not being able to deliver? And so when now we are at the point where I see this is you not being able, now I can. Nice. But now by the time you're telling me, or maybe someone called me and tell me, oh, my son was in the hospital, that's why I could not get into the call, I can now be more empathetic. So being curious really helps in understanding how to manage situation and also where that person's emotions or mind is at.
Yeah.
And so I think that helps even in terms of how you end up even escalating that. Yeah.
I like that. I like how you're explaining emotional intelligence in everyday terms.
Yeah.
So let's look at it this way. At work, there are guidelines and there are regulations.
Yes.
However, in this side called life, these things happen and there's no one to escalate to.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with conflicts or things that are not going your way in interactions with people out there? What do you guys do? Let's start with Leah.
With handling conflicts every day.
Or out there, it could be a friendship that's not working or a relationship, here you can't escalate.
Yeah, so
there's no one to refer to.
Let's, because we are friends, we can use our example.
Yeah.
So we recently had something that she was uncomfortable with. And she raised it with someone else, not me. But I was like, why was I not
Why
told?
didn't you just tell me? Why would you go to someone else?
She brought it up during a call. She was talking about the event itself. And then I was like, oh, but then no, because you brought it up. Let's get into it. Let's address it. And for me, the comfort of addressing it is the trust that I know even if I address it, we'll still be friends. Like we have gotten to a place where we know each other. When addressing it, I can trust that we'll still be okay, even with the discomfort of the thing that is not okay between us. And because sometimes we end up and right now one of the themes is that if I cannot be able to tell you as my friend that you have overstepped a boundary, and then we won't be friends again, are we really
friends?
Because part of us being humans is that I'll step on your toe, you'll step on mine. And there are times that I will not be comfortable with something that you do. I need to feel comfortable enough in our friendship to be like, I am not comfortable with this, but also let you be able to manage your emotions for that and then be able to come to me and tell me, okay, let's talk about this. So also creating that space of, I can address this, maybe she's not ready to address it, but can I hold space for them to come back to me when they are ready to address it and we can talk it through? And so, I brought it up. And now she was able to tell me from her perspective why she felt the way she felt.
Yeah.
And I was able to address my emotions about how I felt about that situation. And then we could come and say, okay, I'm sorry that I did not understand this, but now I understand. So next time, this is what I'd love you to do. So we have also setting expectation in the midst of us discussing this uncomfortable situation. And so she knows next time if something, and for me, I know next time if something. So at least now we already have a clear way. Because sometimes there are some expectations you don't know that you have until something happens. That's when you have that expectation.
That's when you're like, by the way.
Yeah, but then you get angry. But I didn't know. You didn't know.
Yeah.
So let's get into this discomfort. And then after this discomfort comes the beauty of now a new thing that we didn't know about ourselves that we'd want each other to do for each other. Yeah, I don't know whether that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think it's also because the conversation was around my wedding.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I realized was I was also experiencing this for the first time. I've never put together a wedding. So all of these things I'm experiencing for the first time. So I didn't realize I had an expectation or that I would feel a certain way if my friends were not participating on a certain part of the planning or, of the whole thing. And after that experience happened is when I was like, okay, I felt a certain way. I felt bad. And then I think it just gave me clarity because I was just like, the human experience is new for everyone.
Every day is new.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. So even if I cannot escalate to anyone, I think I can find grace to be able to understand that this person is experiencing something for the first time. And then being able to just have a conversation with that individual.
Yeah.
I think part of, just other than just managing my emotions and helping another person maybe identify their emotions, I think being emotionally intelligent is also holding space, as Leah said, for somebody to feel and experience what they need to experience, but still being present for them to be able to communicate and come back to you at any time that they want. So I think that has really helped. And I think it also helps to have people who are open-minded.
Yeah.
To your learning, and people who are also emotionally aware. I don't know if this should be a green flag, but I think you should date people who are like that. Like people who are like, there's a level of emotional intelligence for your spouse to be able to call you out on things.
Yeah.
In a graceful way,
Yeah.
hold space for you to express what you need to express and still come back to you and say, I understand that's how you felt, but you did wrong in ABCD, or you could have done ABCD better, right? So I feel like that also helps, having friends, partnerships, people who just allow you to go through this human experience, but they also hold you to a certain standard.
I like that.
Right?
So what happens when, unfortunately, you are meeting those who are not emotionally aware, and also not everything has a happy ending?
Of course.
Yes.
Sometimes things will go south.
Yeah.
There'll be disappointments, or some things just may not work at all.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that pressure? How do you come to terms with that? What's your resilience point? Because some things just aren't going to be.
Yes.
And it can be, it hurts. It's disappointing. There's a lot of other, like we said, and expectations you hadn't realized or even factored in. There's loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you deal with that?
I think first have grace for yourself.
I like that. What do you mean by grace for yourself?
Like just allowing yourself to feel the kind of, sometimes I feel like we avoid feeling certain emotions, even ourselves, towards a situation or towards someone.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to say that you're angry towards someone and just be like, okay, this is a feeling, and not feel shame about the feeling. Because there's always
I like
there's
what,
that,
yeah, I
right?
like what you're
So
saying.
there's having
Yeah.
grace for yourself and not having shame towards the feeling that you're feeling. Because then that allows you, when you have grace for yourself, you're also able to have grace for other people. And then you're also able to come to the acceptance of if it's something that you need to let go.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned is that even in the letting go, there's grief, even if it was something that was hurting you.
Yes.
And so even if this thing you really wanted it to work, they will be grief towards it. And that's also part of having grace to yourself and accepting that I'm feeling bad about this thing that I need to let go. And you are the one who will make the choice of letting it go. And allowing yourself to go through that experience is really, really important. Because it's something that happened. Recently, a friend of mine was going through a grief period. Then I realized that, yes, I'm with her and I'm supporting her, but I'm also feeling like I'm going through a certain overwhelming emotion. And when I sat, my therapist was like, maybe her grief is awakening also grief that you have not dealt with.
Yeah.
And I was telling her, okay, I need to know which grief for what situation, where.
Yeah.
And so on Friday, I was watching something and I think it triggered something in me and it made me realize it's because of a friendship I lost that I didn't grieve. And I cried. I cried because I was like, oh my God, I thought I had processed this, but I hadn't grieved me not being there. So I think me seeing her and how her friends were supporting her. So I think it arose a friendship that I let go of. That now is when it triggered that, oh my God, I wish this was the kind of relationship I was wanting with this person. I had not grieved that process. So it became, so I think that's one thing. So I had grace for myself during that period. And so I think that, just understanding yourself helps you have grace for other people. Yeah.
And a good cry also.
And a good cry.
Yeah. I think a good cry really helps.
Yeah.
And just acceptance, because no one is perfect. And if a situation or if you're dealing with somebody who just hurt you, that is expected of humans because they're also working on themselves. You're also working on yourselves. You're bound to hurt each other as you figure out whatever you guys are figuring out individually. And I think one of my first relationships, when it ended, I was very stoic about it.
I'm fine.
Kangomo.
It's okay.
I was very stoic about it. And then when I got into a better relationship, I was very reactive and very emotional because I had not dealt with,
Aha.
Yeah.
And then seeing having a 360-degree kind of human from the one that you were engaging with also made me feel very unbalanced. You're
out
like,
of order.
I know what to expect. I knew what to expect with the other individual, but now with this one,
It's different.
It's different and it's safe. So I'm just like very, okay, what should I do with myself, with this anger, with this argument that I want to have, and the other person wants to have a conversation. So I feel like just allowing yourself to go through the experience and then being present enough to know or to like even experience it. Like when you're in a good relationship and something happens and you sit with yourself and you're like, I'm feeling this way because initially the person would have hurt me with what they said, but this person communicated and I don't feel hurt. I feel curious to understand, what they wanted to communicate. So I feel like when things don't go well, I've learned to release by crying. I will do a good cry even for work-related things. I will close my laptop, do a good cry. I love yoga. I will do yoga. I will journal. I will write it out.
Yeah.
If my partner or my friend is available, I will rant it. I will talk about it. I think that really helps. And then also, this is not the first hurt or the first situation where something did not go right.
Right.
When something like this happened, you got through it and you learned something and it made you stronger. So even this thing, when I'm going through it, it's that mindset of I will get at the end of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how, and it
This
will be
too shall
messy.
pass.
This too shall pass. So also just that understanding, like if something has hurt you or, a certain situation did not go well, it will not be a situation your whole life.
Yeah.
This phase will pass and then you'll go on to the new phase and you'll take all of the learnings from this one to go to the next one.
So you're facing the situations more intelligent.
Yeah. It's
stronger.
Resilient.
The resilience has come in.
Yes.
Yeah. And your self-regulation.
Yeah.
I would like us to touch a little on your podcast.
Yes.
The podcast is called We Are Few. What is Few?
Figuring it out.
Fear is figuring it out. The inspiration behind the podcast was a book called The Defining Decade. So we were in our 20s. We are actually in our 20s. We're getting
Almost
old.
hitting that.
Yeah.
Karibuni.
Thank you. And so the book was around like how in our 20s we get to figure out life. And like it was from a therapist talking about the 20-year-olds that they were seeing. And I found it so insightful. I was like, okay, kumbe, we all go through these experiences. And that's the concept of our podcast, is that this situation of lacking money and being broke, it's something a lot of people go through.
All of us.
Yes, all of us go through. The not understanding how relationship works. It's not just you, even me.
Yeah.
And I think just knowing that you are not the exception in the story sometimes helps, because you know that, oh, you're also going through the same. I'm also going through the same. Oh, how are you handling it? And so how can we exchange that? And it's also because we used to have these conversations between the two of us. And there are times we still have conversations and you're like, that should have been a podcast.
You remember the one I sent in the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's how the podcast came to be, because we are also in the journey of figuring out. Even this whole thing that we have just talked, we are still figuring it out.
We all are. We all are. Truly, we are all still, because every day there's new things. You're in a new level in life. So truly, we are all figuring it out.
Yes.
So at least now people know that they can look out for it soon.
Yes. So we are having a community event on the 19th of April. I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but if you have time on the 19th of April at 9 a.m. in Arboretum, we are going to have yoga, because you love wellness and stretch and relax. And then we are going to have a conversation on the connection deficit in the digital era. We're having a lot of imbalances when it comes to creating authentic connections. And mostly now that we have digital media, AI has come in. And so how do we build authentic connections, friendships, relationships, while still being like not ignoring this new factor that is very predominant in our life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I really want to thank you, because this has been a great, I have learned a lot.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you're so connected and you're able to process things, because that's the most important thing. To be able to understand things from earlier makes your life easier, especially if you're still in the 20s. Life should be hopefully a lot easier for you. So of course, you've been on Emotional Intelligence Simplified, the podcast. Today we had the pleasure of having Wambui Mwehaki, who's an operations specialist as well as a community builder. And you've had part of the podcast, we are FIO.
FIO.
And then we also have Leah Kigondu, who's a project management specialist, also a community builder. And on the same podcast, we are FIO. I'm Angela Mwehaki, and looking forward to having you on the next episode. Welcome to Emotional Intelligence Simplified. This is a weekly podcast focused on demystifying and discussing what emotional intelligence is.